Good day everybody. I'm going to create a new Java Android application using Eclipse EDT, Eclipse Android Development Toolkit, and this screen which you see on the board, this is a very simple application I'm going to develop. It involves one text view which is in Dreamweaver or HTML terms called label. The one at the top is label, also in Android terms called text view. And these two at the bottom are buttons, the plus and minus. This is how you create a new Android application. And first of all, you need to write the application name. There's no limitation to it as such unless you use special characters which are not involved. Application name can be, for example, this is counter app, so I can write counter app. So this is already created, so I'm gonna just create with a slightly different. The name already exists, so let me call it application. Right. So the project name is counter application. The application name is counter space application. What's the difference? This is how you see it when it is installed. Counter space application. This is how you see it when it is installed in the device. Project name counter application is how you see it in Eclipse. What you're creating. The developer will see this, not the user. The user will see this name, counter space application. What is package name? Package name is how it will be written in your source code, how it will be organized. So this is the normal convention, convention, the normal way the programmers used, com dot example dot counter application. This actually follows folder hierarchy. So there is a folder called com here. Inside that there is a folder called example. So dot means subfolder. Inside that there is a folder called counter application. So this is a way to organize source code, where the source code will be kept. So when I click next, you will see actually in the Windows directory there will be folder com. Inside it there will be example folder, inside which there will be counter application folder. So the programmer doesn't need to go inside unless you really need to, but for just learning purpose you can see there is a folder inside in Windows. This minimum required SDK, one of the exam questions was also about this. You can develop your application in 4.4, which is API level 19, 4.4 KitKat. This is where you indicate compile with, meaning I'm developing it in 4.4. However, I also want older versions of Android to run this application which I will be developing. So if there is not any fancy or new advanced or flashy thing which is only in the latest version, if it's not like this which you're using, it means you can run your application on older versions also, which is 2 years or 3 years old, because all users don't buy a new phone every month, but you see the Android advancements, they come out every 2 months at least, the new updates. So you can indicate over here minimum required SDK. You can indicate that people using ice cream sandwich version should also be able to run my application. Even though I'm running on KitKat, but I allow older versions, which is 4.0 or even 3.5 or 3.0 Honeycomb to run my application. That's what it really means. So this is how you configure it. So I'm going to mark, for the purpose of simplicity for this course, please select KitKat, KitKat, KitKat everywhere to avoid confusion, as long as you understand this. So I'll select KitKat and KitKat and KitKat everywhere to make it simple. Now this theme, I know Android Development Kit gives sometimes some errors about the theme. To make it simple, please use no theme. Although you can use themes if you like, and most of the times they won't be a problem. Sometimes Android gives compiling errors in slower computers. So if you don't use themes in this course, it's not a requirement. So none. Make sure create activity is clicked. By default it is clicked always. Leave this screen untouched. Don't click anywhere, but just ensure create activity. It will create the activity by default, which means the XML file and the Java file and the manifest entries will be done automatically. That's what this create activity means. Now you can design your own Android logo for your application. This is the Android image. What you can do is you can select another image if you like from this browse, you can go anywhere. Let's say this, I'm not sure what this image is. Let's just preview. Okay, it's too big, but you can select an image, um, and you can make it the logo of your application, or you can go to text or clip art. Let's say I'll say over here I'll write counter and make it bolder, or select another, like say comic. So you can select any other text font if you like, the size, etc. So there's lots of flashy things you can do over here. It's too big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to image and leave the default one, but in the text also you can use this if you like. So I'll reduce it to smaller one, make it center, background, choose another color if you like, maybe this one, foreground, this one if you like, circled from the edges, etc. So you can do all sorts of flashy things. To keep things simple, I'll just uh, leave as default. Blank activity is what is going to come in your test, and even now, because we are not touching the other flows also, so please make sure blank activity. The other kind of things we will learn later on, because this is your first test, 10% only, blank activity. Now this activity name is what will be followed when your application is created and the source code Java is created, the Java file is created. So this will be following, this text will be followed by the Java file name. So the Java file name will be the same as what you've written over here. XML file name will be the same as what you've written here. What that means is this will turn into main activity.java. This will turn into activity underscore main.xml. This will go into the source folder. This will go into the res folder. Remember, resources, res, and then layout folder. That's where it will go. This will be XML. This will be .java. XML is for your interface. Java is for your code. Now there are a few restrictions over here. First of all, the first letter cannot be small. That's the way Java file names are given. If it's .java, it has to be having a first capital name. So I'll give it M. Otherwise, it will complain. Secondly, other names, other characters can be anything. It can be actually, as long as there is no space, you can have number. You can have a mix of numbers and characters as long as there is no space. And generally, the special characters is discouraged. Use one word, capital letter for the first one. Second one can be capital or small if it's your choice. But at least the first one should be capital. For the layout, it's the opposite. Everything small. Again, one word, but everything small. This is the XML file. That's the restriction you have. So if I say A capital, that's a no-no. It cannot happen. So I have to be writing small a. Okay. So this is, even in the end, I cannot have capital letters. I can't. I simply can't. All should be small. Activity underscore main. That's where I click finish and my project will be ready. And it's called Android counter space application. Now remember, you may have more applications open like I have, and you may get errors on your project. To avoid unnecessary errors, close all other applications. You see this is the one I've created now, and this is the one which is older. So I can close it by right clicking, and I say close the project. Course marks, close. This will not give me errors from this project now, if there are any. So I can, the Emirates Pizza, etc. They are not related now. I'm not working on them. So you can right click and close. This will help me by making the Eclipse software faster, and also it will not give me errors related to other projects. It is being recorded now. So while I'm closing these, I'm also removing the errors that I will see from other projects. Okay, so only have your application open and there is one necessary application, app compat version 7. Sometimes it's hidden. If you see it's there, don't close it. Only close the other unrelated applications like I just did. Now if you want to open them back, so you just right click like this counter app and I can open it. Okay, that's how you close and open. You understand why I close? Because I don't want to see errors from that project which I'm not working on. So this is the project which is created by default. SRC contains this package. You see com.example.counter application. I explained to you this. These are the subfolders. If you go to properties, you will see their location. You see it's inside source and there is a com folder inside which there is an example folder inside which there is a counter application folder. So that was the organization of the source code. That's how it is organized. So inside this package, it's called a package, there are all source code files. There, for every activity you create, there is one Java file. For every activity you create, there is one XML file. What is an activity? The page. Right now, up till now, we have done only one page applications. Your exam also will be on one page application. After this, we will study one application which has many pages, minimum 2, 3, 4, and more. So, yeah, that will come later on. So this is where the Java file lives. If you click over it, you can see public class main activity extends activity. What this means is you have created this activity which is the child of activity. So in object oriented terms, OOP terms, we have done C# also, you would remember. Main activity is an activity, that's what it means all. So we're not going to go in more details. For one page application, we don't have any menu. So to make it simple, we are only concerned with onCreate method. What's a method? It starts here from this bracket and it ends here, the one Eclipse automatically highlights. This is its security, meaning it is protected. Its default, you don't need to change it. Void meaning it returns back nothing. OnCreate is its name. The method or function's name is OnCreate. And this is automatically called by Android SDK whenever this activity is started. So we'll write all code inside this method just below these two automatically generated lines. You see inside this method, you can enter and bring it down to make it clearer. Inside this method, there are two automatically generated lines. All code we will write in single activity applications will be inside this method, inside literally between these two brackets, all code. What it means is, I'm telling Android, when you start this activity, please do this. What do we want to do? We'll discuss now later on. We want to do this. When the user clicks plus, add the number. When the user clicks minus, remove the number and show it on the label. That's really what we want to do because it's a very simple basic example we're looking at. So this is the Java file. If you come to this res folder, which means resources folder, there are actually three main folders you should be looking at. The drawable, and for the purpose of exam and for the purpose of your programming also, now the projects we're going to do, don't touch these because there's no images we are working on now. That will come a little later on. So what these folders mean, all of these means different size of same images with different sizes are living inside here. Why do they have different sizes? Because to show on different size of devices. An Android application can run on a very small Android phone which is 3.3 inches, also on 4.0 inches phone, also on a tablet which is 7 inches, maybe 11 inches. So for all to be compatible with all those devices, it is having different size of images. That's all these folders will contain. The layout folder will contain my activities interface. And you see this activity underscore main.xml. Remember we created this. This is the design of our application. And this is called layout. And this is informally also called my activity, this is my activity, this is my layout, this is my interface, and it's in XML file. It is an XML. You can interactively design your application over here. As you design, XML is generated at the back. So it works vice versa also. If you write XML, if you are good enough to write XML, and then you switch back to graphical layout, it will be reflected there also. Okay, so it's basically an XML file. Then you have values. This values will contain, this is the strings.xml is the main point of focus that we will be having. It will contain all strings which are displayed on the screen. The reason it's coming from the XML and not written here directly is to ensure our application can be created as a multilingual application easily. How? Because you see this hello world, it's not written hello world directly over here. It comes, this hello world comes from this string /hello, and that's hello underscore world. That's a variable name. Hello underscore world, all small. That's not how you see it over here. You see it's H capital space world and then a exclamation, because this is not a word directly. It's actually a reference string hello world. Where do you create this? In this strings.xml. This is created to support multiple languages on your file, on your application. So let me just show you very quickly. If I can create resources, new folder, values -ar, finish, and I make a copy of all these files here, copy and go into values-ar. Yes, save this activity. Then I can actually go to this hello world and I can write in another language if I like, and I'll say marhaba, and that's how it looks. That's all I need to do. So what this means is when the user changes his or her settings in Android to Arabic, preferred language is Arabic, the user over here will not see hello world, the user will see marhaba. So that's how supporting multiple languages is complemented or made easy. So let's just delete this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create one label which is actually in a text view. Label is coming from the HTML understanding. It's a text view and we need 2 buttons. That's all we need. So I'm going to save this. Make sure this is 19 because 20 is for variable devices, and if it's 19, I'm going to create a text view here, which means a label and 2 buttons representing plus and minus. Okay, this text view I'm going to give it a name. You see this XML, the XML is updated automatically. I can click on text view. This is its ID. Okay, I can change its ID and I'll call it. So this is the convention LBL. Sorry, I need to change the language to English. So this is LBL. I'll say result and press enter. Remember to press enter to update the references everywhere. Say okay, and this button should be, I'll call it BTN plus. Okay, and this button I'll call it BTN minus. Enter and okay. So that will change the references everywhere. Now if you want to change the text on the button, you change it from here. So I'll say minus here only and press enter, and this one should be plus and press enter. Now what should be text view? What should be the value of text view? So initially, because this is a counter application, it should be increasing and decreasing. I'll call it 0 initially. Actually 0. That's what it will be doing initially. Save it So the initial value is 0. That's all I've done. Now let's switch back to the Java. Now I need to do the Java code. So I go to main activity, and by the way, you can delete this all if you like up till here, and this is not executed. If you like it to stay there, let it stay there. So I'll go to onCreate, and I'm gonna first of all create the let me write this comment: create links also to the layout components, create listener, and then this is gonna be done inside listener. Inside listener, read current value of label, increase or decrease by 1, display or update the result. That's all what you want to do. So, but you need to have listeners for two buttons. Create listener for plus button, and you need to do the same for the minus button. So let me do this. Control C, Control V. Create listener for plus button, create listener for minus button. Read current value, and now this time decrease by 1. That's all I need to do. So first create links, then create listener for plus button. Inside the listener, read the value, increase by 1, update result, and then that listener is finished. Secondly, you need to create the listener for minus button, do exactly the same thing except the changing of values. It should be decreasing by 1 and update the result. That's all. That's all there is to it. So right, the next thing we're going to do now is to just follow these steps, and I'm going to number them so it becomes easier to understand what we're going to do in the coming few minutes. So create links to the layout components. So this means the Java code has to have access to the layout components, the one which you see and you have designed on the interface, which you see on the activity. That's something which we should be able to refer to by some name. So the names are this. You see when you click on this, the components, these are LBL result, and then BTN minus, and this is BTN plus. That's the interface side name. Now we need to give them the source code side name. So if it's a button, you need to write here button and call it, you can call it same name, you can give it different names also if you like. So I'll call it button plus, the same name which I've given on the interface is equal to, and I'll say this is the syntax you need to follow: button, and then find, and if you press control space at any point in time, Eclipse gives you suggestions for whatever it understands you're doing. You want to do find view by ID. That's yes, that's what I want. R.id. Now you will see the same name which you have given in the interface. That's what R.id is doing. You say yes, I want to refer to button plus as a button in Eclipse, and I'll refer it also as BTN plus here in the source code. Now it will say I don't know what is button. Which button are you referring to? There are many buttons. So I say I'm referring to the Android widget, which is a button. You do that again for the minus button BTN minus, and you can just copy this line and make changes as you see also, but I'm just going to write that by hand. And find view, make sure you following the correct spelling, r.id.btn minus now, and semicolon. Lastly, the label. So the label is in Android text views. I'll write text view, I say LBL result is equal to text view, and if you've placed a text box, it should be called edit text. So, but now this is the text view, so we'll say find view. So that was my spelling mistake. Eclipse corrected it when I said control space, find view by ID. Yes, that's what I want. R.id dot, and I'll say LBL result. Yeah, that's what I need. So I've created the references now, and again Eclipse complains to me about text view. If you hover your mouse over it like you did on the button, you'll see Android widget. Yes, this is the text view I'm looking for. And when you click on it, you'll see the import. It actually adds it over here automatically. Before it was not there. Now this yellow is not an error. It says you're not using it. That's all it says. If you bring over here, so the value of local variable LBL result is not used. That's all it says. So I'm going to use it now. So we are going to create a listener for BTN plus and BTN minus, because these are two buttons the user will be clicking and I will be responding in the program. I want to increase the number whatever there is on the LBL result. So you're going to create a listener for minus button and the plus button, but you don't want a listener for result, because even if the user clicks on the result, nothing should happen. So don't create a listener. So you need to understand where you need to create a listener, and you need to understand where you don't need a listener. So we don't need a listener for result, we need a listener for plus and minus only. So that's what I'm going to do now. BTN plus dot, it will give you suggestion. You need set on, that's the syntax. Use the first one, set on click listener, press enter, it will automatically fill it. Now write new space control space. So that's the suggestion Eclipse gives you. Press enter, yes, I need that. And it ends at this round bracket. Add a semicolon over there. Eclipse should have done this automatically, but it does not by default. So remember, you should write this semicolon here. It's not here, not here, it's actually here. So let me just do that again. New space control space, viewer on click listener, yes, I need that. And the cursor is, bring it here and press semicolon. Now you'll see these red lines again. It says I don't know what is on click listener, I don't know what is view. If you click on click list, hover your mouse over it, you will see the third option here now, import on click listener, which is coming from Android view. Click over it and the complaints of Eclipse should go away. And inside here is what you need to do, these three steps. Read current value, increase by 1, and update result. How will you read the current value? So you read the current value into something. You need to read it into something. I need it as an integer, so I'll say int r or val. It says integer value is equal to. Now you see I've referred this to the interface component as LBL result. So I'll say LBL result dot get text dot toString. This is how you'll get the string. Now you want to convert this to an integer. To convert this to integer, put this whole thing up after the equals to sign in integer dot parse int, as I showed to you earlier in the class. Integer dot parse int. Yeah, that's what you want to do. Put the whole thing inside this bracket and semicolon in the end. Now Eclipse will complain you are referring to something which is not final. Final means you are telling Eclipse that I will not change it. That's all. So you write final here for all buttons and all the kind of the widgets that you will be referring to. Say yes, I will not change its value. So now when you say integer parse int, this actually means convert to int. This is what it means, integer parse int. And then I'm gonna increase it by 1. So I'll say VL plus plus. That increases it to 1, and this is equal to saying equal to, or you can also can be increased by, when you write VL is equal to VL plus 1. Okay, so this increases it to 1 and then update the result. So what I'm going to do next is LBL result dot set text yes, and now you write the text. What's the text? It has to be the value. You see, it has to be in character. Right now I have in string. So you just add to it an empty string and it will convert the whole thing in the integer to string. That's the opposite way. So if you want to convert string to integer, this is the way. If you want to convert integer to string, this is the way. Add to it a string. That's the easier way to convert a number to a string. So you will display on result. There will be a result this value. Now you want to do the same thing, exactly same thing, in minus. So I'll copy the same thing. I'll do this quickly, and I'll just change minus. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'll create a listener for the minus button, btn minus dot set on click listener new space view on click listener and semicolon here. Notice no import errors here now because I've imported the first time. These three things I have to do inside onClick as you have done before. So read the current value. The current value is read like this. So you can copy this code here and paste here. So instead of increase, you have to decrease by 1. And VL instead of plus plus, the only difference is minus minus. It can also be done val is equal to val minus 1. What is the value? Just decrease it by 1 and update the result. That's all. Now you want to do is run this. Okay, run this application. To run this application, right click, run as, and run configuration. You have to do this the first time only for every application. The next time you just right click, run as Android applications. First time run configuration, and then you create a new configuration here, or if it's already there, you can just what you can do is give it this name, similar as counter application, as the application name, counter application, same name, and type here or browse. Yes, I am clicking this, creating this for counter application. Target should be your Android virtual device. Select here, select the Android virtual device. It should show you virtual device. If it's not there, so actually I did create a virtual device, Android virtual device manager. Yeah, it's there. So you can start it from here. Go to window, Android virtual device, start your device, launch. That's how you start your virtual device. Once it is ready, you right click on your application. Once this is ready, you can come out of the virtual device, right click your application, run as, run configuration, counter application, select this which you just did, automatically pick, and run. When you do that, it will now run in the device, in the virtual device manager which was just created. Say if you don't see your device listed here, even though you see it in the virtual device manager, make sure it's the same level as 19. I just changed it to 19. It used to be, it was actually 14 before, so I changed it to 19, selected the ARM processor, and now I can see it while I'm running this configuration or running the application. Go to target. Now you can see this and run. So if you have a physical device, choose the physical here. I have none. You have a emulators like this, launch a new Android virtual device, and OK. When you do that, the emulator or the Android virtual device will start up and it will display your application. Okay, so the emulator is finally up. Remember the default value we gave was 0. Now when you press 1, keep on increasing. When you press minus, keep on decreasing. Okay, that's it. Hope you enjoyed.